Welcome back. You're watching To The Point. The debate over whether there should be a CBI inquiry into DK Ravi's mysterious death has grown shriller by the day. Not only has it split Karnataka politics apart, but it seems to have affected public opinion as well. So tonight we ask, how credible is the case for a CBI inquiry and how good are the arguments for refusing it? My guests are Congress spokesperson Brajesh Kalappa, BJP spokesperson GVL Narasimha Rao, a former CBI director RK Raghavan, and the well-known columnist and commentator Akar Patel. Brajesh Kalappa, given that DK Ravi died in mysterious circumstances, secondly, given that during his career he had taken on the sand mafia, the real estate mafia and tax evaders, all of whom could be considered his enemies, and given the huge popular demand, why are you resisting a CBI inquiry?
Mr. Thapar, first of all, I must point out that insofar as the mysterious angle you're now trying to state, the body was found by the wife of Mr. DK Ravi, right? And she found the body in a certain state. And she has never claimed that there was a mysterious death. You know, both the father-in-law and the wife reported to the police went there, and used by established parameters, they came to the conclusion, about 10 very senior officers of the Karnataka state government, they saw the body in its state. They had a scientific rule of establishing under what circumstances it has to be established to be a suicide. And then they made a prima facie finding. Still, you will realize that this finding which they have stated is a prima facie finding. And then they said that, you know, this is possibly a suicide, right? And the rest, of course, is what follows, because as you'll realize, the BJP has been trying to do dead body politics for a long time.
Can I stop you? You're therefore saying to me that this explanation that you're giving, which hinges upon Ravi's wife and his father-in-law, considering the matter to be not suspicious, is your reason for refusing a CBI. Is that the answer you're giving me?
No, and besides that is, you know, by linking us to the sand mafia, by linking us to the building mafia and linking us to other mafia, unless the BJP said something credible which linked us directly to somebody, where's the point of, you know, having, because you see what does this do?
This is not between you and me. Let's bring the others in. Let's bring the others in.
You're demoralizing a whole lot of
let's take these matters one by one, Mr. Kalappa. Let's not take them all together. Mr. Raghavan, in an interview to The Hindu today, you very strongly argued in favor of a CBI inquiry. Explain to us, what are the top 3 reasons why you believe a CBI inquiry is essential and a CID inquiry will not suffice?
Yeah, thank you, Karan. If you give me 2 minutes to state my case. First of all, it is not my case or anybody's case that Ravi was murdered and then made to hang from the ceiling of his house. That's not the case. Second, I mean, generally there is a feeling that it is a case of suicide. Even when it's a case of suicide, there are 2 possibilities. One, it is a natural case of suicide. Second, possibly somebody murdered him and then made him hang from the ceiling. These are various allegations which can come in. I forget all that. I'm purely on this point that the inadvertent, unintended statement made by the Commissioner of Police, who is incidentally a very good friend of mine, I value him very high as a professional police officer. A statement attributed to him that prima facie this appears to be a case of suicide is unexceptionable in an ordinary case. But then it was followed up by statements of some state ministers, including probably
But come to my question. What are the top reasons why you want a CBI inquiry? Give them to me pithily.
Yeah. Beg your pardon?
Give me the top 3 reasons for a CBI inquiry in a pithy manner.
This one. So this is the main reason why I want the CBI. I'm not saying that the state government is trying to cover up or they will not do a professional work, but because of this reason that some suspicion has been aroused, added the fact that Ravi was a high-profile officer. He had done lots of things which probably didn't go well with some what so-called mafia. It is but appropriate that an inquiry is done by an agency outside. They may still come to the same findings.
Let me stop you there. What they come to is another issue. You've given your reasons why you think a CBI inquiry is necessary. Let me bring in Akar Patel. Akar Patel, the principal reason, if I understood Mr. Raghavan correctly, is the fact that he believes the police commissioner, the chief minister and the home minister immediately concluded, without waiting for the post-mortem report, that Ravi's death was suicide. Therefore, he believes they've jumped the gun, therefore they've coloured the picture, and therefore it will be difficult for the CID, which comes under them, to come to a different conclusion. Then there are also concerns to do with the fact that Ravi was an officer who had annoyed several vested interests, all of whom could have had a reason for perhaps being involved in his death. In your eyes, is that sufficient reason for a CBI inquiry?
No. I don't think the threshold for having a CBI inquiry has been met in this case. What should that threshold be? I accept that that is a subjective, but in the recent past we've tended to make too much of mysterious deaths. Sunanda Pushkar and the harassment, there is no other word to be used for it, of Shashi Tharoor, of a case which is not really going in the way that people who booked it wanted it to go, proves that we ought not to escalate things beyond the point where the law is handling it at the local level. I think in this case, there is very little to suggest that there is either a pressure from the government to take the case in a certain way. There is very little evidence to suggest that the death happened in another way than the way that the police claim it has. There is a second aspect to this. Are we to assume that the CBI is more neutral than the state police? What is the evidence to suggest that? The Prime Minister himself called it the Congress Bureau of Investigation. The Supreme Court suggested that it was a caged parrot. Why should we assume that the Karnataka police is less competent than the CBI? I don't know why we should assume that. I don't think in this case the threshold has been met for the case to be escalated to the center.
I want to bring you in at that point, Mr. Narasimha Rao, because your party is in fact publicly demanding, insisting, it sometimes even holding up Parliament with that demand that a CBI inquiry must be held. Now, you've heard Akar Patel's cogent reasons. Let me add one other reason. The Indian Express and several other papers as well revealed today that on the day he died, DK Ravi called an IAS woman batchmate as many as 44 times in the span of an hour. The Hindu says, in fact, on the day before he died, there were several earlier phone calls to the same person as well. Does that not, if it's true, and I accept that there's an if here, does that not suggest that, in fact, a suicide for personal reasons may well be what happened, and therefore this is an issue the CID can adequately handle?
Karan, I think an investigation has to be seen to be fair, has to also be seen to be thorough. And in this instant case, I think it's a fit case for an inquiry by an agency outside the state, at least to say that precisely, because the state police, the state chief minister and the state home minister are all under a cloud of suspicion in this case personally for the kind of statements they have made, for the kind of actions they have indulged in over the past 72 hours.
What is the kind of statement? What is the kind of statement they've made that's brought them under the cloud of suspicion? Give me one example.
First, I think 2 points. One, the statements made in character assassination by the chief minister himself, which is not his job. And for concluding, all of them said prima facie this is suicide. And personal reasons,
but the word
how
prima
on
facie
earth
is
did
not
they
a
know
conclusion.
at the time of FIR?
But Mr. Narasimha Rao, when you use the word prima facie, it's not a conclusion. And prima facie, to many people it looked like a suicide. When a man is found hanging, it looks like a suicide. The word prima facie is critical.
Do you want, then the home... what more evidence does one want that the home minister himself is involved in real estate business? He has interest in companies which are being probed by Ravi, the embassy group, embassy goals links. So there is a political and commercial interest.
You're coming very close to libel, Mr. Narasimha Rao. I must stop you. You're coming very close to libel, and you're coming very close to suggesting the Home Minister's involvement in this death. Let me stop you. I don't want you to get into an issue of libel. But I will take up your point with Mr. Kalappa. Mr. Kalappa, it seems that one critical issue is that statement made by the police commissioner, the home minister and the chief minister that they think this was a suicide. They may have used the word prima facie, but that isn't sufficient qualification. Surely, all you need to do is to get them to issue a formal statement to say they have not come to that specific conclusion. This is a matter that the CID can inquire into and come to any conclusion they want, that their remarks, therefore, must not be considered as a direction to the CID. Why don't they issue a statement to that effect? Because that would re-establish their bona fides.
But Mr. Thapar, they have. In fact, the Chief Minister went on record in the Assembly and stated that this was a prima facie view. And I don't know why the BJP, all they have to do is buy a dictionary which will tell them what prima facie means. Somehow they just don't know what prima facie means. And I don't know whether I'm qualified enough to explain it to them word by word. But prima and facie are two words which mean that on first sight, this means that, you know, it appears to be a suicide, and subsequent investigation will reveal what exactly the reasons for the death have been. This is the whole problem. And our BJP friends, what happened is that one right-wing journalist tweeted that the Home Minister of Karnataka is involved in some real estate company, which he is not. And Mr. Narasimha Rao, as you saw, has been making this point, while many of his other spokesmen have actually withdrawn from making this. And I must point out that the Home Minister has already initiated action against that right-wing journalist who made this original tweet.
That's
so
very clear.
under these circumstances,
you believe that in fact the CID inquiry is sufficient. I want to bring in Mr. Raghavan. Mr. Raghavan, you're a strong supporter of the need for a CBI inquiry. Let me put this to you. Yesterday in Parliament, Home Minister Rajnath Singh announced that Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has told him that within 2 days, the centre will receive a detailed initial report from the state. Why not then wait till that report comes and see what it establishes and whether thereafter there is need for a CBI inquiry? Why preclude that stage and why cast a shadow of suspicion over the CID and the state police officers by demanding they be kept out of the picture?
Yeah, I totally endorse the Home Minister's statement that you would like to wait for the Chief Minister. Chief Minister, we should respect the autonomy of the state, their decision, their capacity, and the right to take independent decision. Absolutely, I think it's a very fair offer. That wait for a couple of days. We will send a preliminary report.
But then you're contradicting yourself.
We can decide whether.
But then, Mr. Raghavan, you're contradicting yourself, because now you're endorsing the need to wait 2 days. Earlier, you were in favor of an immediate CBI inquiry.
No, I never said that. I generally said we favor a CBI inquiry. Now, in the light of this position taken by the Chief Minister, that please wait for a couple of days. I send a preliminary inquiry report. After all, the police have jumped into the picture. They owe it to law and owe it to the public and owe it to central government a report on their findings.
Yeah, but I want to clarify something, Mr. Raghavan. I'm stopping you. In your interview to the Hindu this morning, and it's there in the paper for everyone to read, and in your first answer to me this evening, you were fully in support of an immediate CBI inquiry. You gave me cogent reasons why the CID couldn't handle it. Now, in answer to this question, you seemingly changed your position.
There is a need for a CBI inquiry. This position taken by the state is unacceptable. They merely told the government of India, please wait for a preliminary inquiry report. And I want to add one more point.
But then how can you endorse the Home Minister when the Home Minister was willing to wait for those 2 days and willing to wait for the report?
Yes.
You're saying two contradictory things.
No, not at all. If he's willing to wait, and then we can always, after all, the police have jumped into, state police have jumped into the picture. They have made some preliminary inquiries. Let there be a report on the basis of which then the Union Home Ministry can request the state government. After all, without the state government's consent, the CBI cannot come into the picture. But one more thing I would like to make it very clear.
Quickly, because I want to move on.
We are not about which is superior, CBI or the state CID. The Karnataka COD, Corps of Detectives, had always been known for high standards of
But you're casting aspersions on them when you insist on a CBI inquiry without waiting for their report. Let me bring in Akar Patel. Akar Patel,
credibility.
Akar Patel, can you accept the argument being made by Mr. Raghavan that the demand for a CBI inquiry is not casting aspersions on the credibility of the CID? Because at the moment this matters with the CID, the demand is to take it away from the CID and give it to the CBI. surely the assumption there is that the CID is inadequate or incapable of handling this matter, and therefore that is an aspersion.
Not at all.
Let me put that to Akar Patel. Akar Patel,
That.
answer that for me.
It is absolutely true to say that if we don't believe the state CID to be competent enough to run basic cases which appear to be prima facie suicide, it is casting aspersions on their competence. It is casting aspersions on their political leaning, and this could be true of many states. BJP run, Congress run, a Trinamool run, it doesn't matter. I'm saying that the CBI is a very precious resource. 5,000 people, teeth to tail ratio is in favor of tail. We ought not to be taking every case to it. And in this instance, it seems to be that the threshold hasn't been met. There is no suggestion even in the media or in the opposition, so far as I can tell, within the BJP in the state here, I'm speaking to you from Bangalore, that the state has done anything wrong. The demand is based entirely on the fact that this man was high in a profile. I think the words mafia are used far too loosely here. My suggestion would be that this wait it out. We see what the detail is, and then you decide whether or not the state police has erred.
Okay.
Even at that point, I don't think it needs to go into the CBI. The state police could have made a mistake in saying that a prima facie it was a suicide. Why should we malign the police because of that? I don't think that the reasons for sending it to Delhi are valid at this point. I think whoever's saying that the Karnataka police hasn't done a good job has to demonstrate why that is the case. I don't think they've made that case.
Mr. Asmarao, there is a charge that one can make against you, your party, and your demand that this matter must be taken out of the hands of the CID and put into the hands of the CBI instead. And that charge is a very simple one, that you're using Ravi's tragic death as a political weapon and also as a way of raising your own party's profile in a state where you lost the state elections and didn't do very well in the by-elections. And therefore, this is not really a genuine concern about Ravi's death. This is a political tool in your hands for your own party's advancement.
More than CID, it is the state government's motives that are suspect. I think it's important to mention that the IG of the CID was transferred. I think Akash Patel either doesn't know or is glossing over these facts. The question is not about CID's ability. The question is about state government's motives. And the IG was transferred within hours of this case having been given to the CID of Karnataka. Does that not tell you that does not smack and smell some conspiracy there?
Let Akar Patel answer that.
Would any
Akar
government
Patel,
do it?
do you want to answer that particular specific point?
Why?
No, I can answer
on
that.
What grounds can I link two separate events? I mean,
go ahead, Mr. Kalapa.
Can I answer that,
giving
please?
an inquiry. It's a
Akar Patel
conspiracy.
says
What else
on
can
no
it be?
grounds can he link two separate events. Let me bring in the Congress spokesperson, Mr. Kalapa. It's said by the BJP that the removal of the IG of the CID, literally hours after this case was given to the CID, is deeply suspicious and suggests that in fact you wanted to ensure the CID came up with a specific response that suits its political masters. That's why the CID in this matter lacks credibility. Answer that.
Okay.
Under
No,
pressure, I think
first
it was
the
brought
facts.
back yesterday.
Mr. Kalapa, go ahead and answer that.
Please listen to me. First, the facts. On 16th of this month, Mr. Mohanty, who is an outstanding officer who has earlier worked in the CBI, had been transferred in the morning of the 16th. Mr. Mohanty had been transferred to the Karnataka Lokayukta because they wanted an officer who had a very high integrity, right? And by the evening of 16th, the news of Mr. Ravi's death had come through, right? And soon after, as you know, the matter was transferred from the city police to the CBCID. And then, of course, Mr. Kumaraswamy, who is a former ally of the BJP, and Mr. Shetter, who is the opposition leader of the BJP, they started making a noise that, this officer had been transferred. And then we suddenly realized that, this officer, had to remain because of all this. So now the state government has said that Mr. Mohanty will continue, and he's the one who's actually supervising the investigation.
Okay.
So if it's a former CBI hand who's now investigating the entire thing, so what is the problem now the BJP has?
Mr. Raghavan, I want to put a specific concern to you, and I put it to you as a former police officer, a man whose first interest is in fact the morale and the esprit de corps of India's police forces. The terrible impression that's created in the mind of the public as politicians from one party or another quarrel over whether it should be the CID or the CBI, is that in fact different CIDs and CBIs are being associated with different political parties. And the message going home is that policemen are politicized, that they do what their specific political masters want. That is a question mark that's being created by politicians over the integrity of policemen. Does that not worry you? That this debate is eventually casting an aspersion on all of them.
No, this is what all of us who are when we are in the police and when we have come out, we are maintaining that we need to restore the credibility of the police, give it as much autonomy as possible without loss of accountability. This is an open secret. Everybody believes
but
that
how
the IPS,
did you help that debate by
well,
jumping into the matter and giving the Hindu an interview saying the CBI should take over? How have you helped that debate? You've taken sides and damaged the image of the CID, haven't you?
Not necessary. You don't understand what I've said. I said the credibility of the inquiry will definitely go up if you give it to a central agency, and the public will definitely welcome it. I only said that without casting aspersions on the state police. When you say the credibility
of the inquiry will go up, no, but when you say the credibility of the inquiry will go up if you give it to a central agency, you're clearly suggesting that the state agency doesn't have the same credibility, that the officers of the CID don't have that independence and they don't have that skill. You're suggesting that quite clearly.
No, in this particular incident, in the context of a certain statements, certain position taken by the Commissioner of Police and a few others in the state, there is a certain ray of doubt whether the CID will be able to convince the common man ultimately of the correctness of its findings.
All right.
That is why I argued for a transfer to CBI. No reflection, no aspersion on the state.
You say there's no reflection and no aspersion on the police officers of the state, but very sadly, that's how it looks. To not me, but to an independent columnist like Akar Patel sitting on screen just beside you. He believes that you're casting aspersions, but let's leave it there. I'm afraid, Mr. Narasimha Rao, we've run out of time. What is left is a clear impression that once again, as politicians quarrel seeking their advantage through their positions, it's the police who are being politicized and whose image is being, possibly in this case, very unfairly damaged. And that is a sad and tragic outcome. My thanks to my four guests for joining me. And there we end this particular episode. If you have been, thanks for watching. Have a terrific weekend. See you on Monday.